UKLC is presented by Barclays and Curry's PC World.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the UKLC qualifiers. We're kicking off day 2 with 2 best of 3s going head to head for our last 2 spots here in the UKLC starting on Sunday. My name is Jake Kiprey Matthews. I'm joined by the wonderful Dan Orcs Harrison. Orcs, mate, how are you doing going into today?
I'm hyped. I mean, more than anything, today it's a situation where you're either in or you're out. We've got 2 spots in the UKLC. Obviously, it's a big achievement to get there. And that is it. It's like the stakes on the line today is absolutely huge. And we've had 4 days of play throughout the open qualifiers and the closed qualifiers. Well, this will be the 4th day of play between the open and closed qualifiers. And it's all sort of led up to this moment, this series for these 4 teams.
Well, let's have a little look at our games today, see what we've got coming up here at the UKLC. We'll obviously be starting the day off with Viperio taking on Bulldog. Viperio are the team who came out first from Group A. And then after that, we will have Resolve versus London Esports. Resolve were the team who came first out of their group. Now, the big kind of upset maybe here was the fact that at the beginning of yesterday over on the A stream, we thought London Esports were clearly the strongest team in their group, and they dropped a game to Viperio, and that forced them to play through that losers bracket and had to play a whole extra best of 3 they probably didn't really want to be playing, and that now puts them in a slightly weaker position because they're playing against the best seed coming out of the other group.
Yeah, and I think also a lot of people, if you'd asked them before the closed qualifiers, which 2 teams will qualify, I think a strong majority would probably have said it would have been London and Resolve. I think those 2 were looking like potentially the strongest options. I don't think it was clear cut. I especially think London, the roster on paper, was really formidable. Now, the fact that only one of them can make it through, it's going to be a really just back and forth thing, because either team I feel could take it. It's going to be a close series, and whichever doesn't make it, it will be an upset for them not to get into the UKLC. But that's not to shy away from Viperio and Bulldog, because I feel like Bulldog, there was a lot of hype around as well. I feel like Viperio, there wasn't as much, but over the course of the open and the closed qualifiers, they've really started to deliver, and them getting that win against London yesterday was really significant. So overall, I think we have 4 strong teams here. It's kind of disappointing that we only can fit 2 in, but that's just the rules of the game.
That's how it goes. Now let's have a little look at our bracket, see how everything played out yesterday. A little bit of a refresher on what we've got coming up. Sorry, it's not yesterday, it's today. So this is how everything will be playing out today. Obviously, only 2 spots do make it into the UKLC. These are best of 3s these teams are playing here today. So it's really all to play for. Now, Orcs, let's turn our attention towards our first BO3. It's Viperio versus Bulldog. We didn't follow these guys on the mainstream yesterday. So talk to me about them. What are we expecting coming into this?
So I think for Bulldog, there's a typical tendency to sort of have a weak side top laner, play towards your bot side of the map more. Jenxes can play a more ganking jungler, but also will play the more farming oriented junglers like the Graves and the Kindred. Not to say he doesn't have impact in the early game, but so he's still relevant into the later stages. I think particularly the bot lane is quite sort of lane pressure dominant. They will look to take a matchup that favors them. And the one sort of criticism I've seen is sometimes they don't have the ideal setup for fights, sometimes taking not the ideal scenario for a team fight, which can sort of backfire. And on the other side, for the side of Viperio, I think their game against London, Kaz and Penta got their signature picks, which is Lucian and Bard in the bot lane. And I think if you give those over, you deserve to lose, just flat out. I think across the board, Sykes has been really impressive. I think he has a tendency to he has the TF, which you can bring out, but you can also play Assassins, and he will often use those to lean into the side lanes. And I think the difference between these 2 teams in the top lane is that Zuki will be more willing to play a carry. So potentially Johnny Rekka could play around that in the top lane, as he's shown he will do before, and look to challenge Kero, who's typically playing things like the Soroka, the Maokai, the Ornn, occasionally the Gangplank, but even then it's still very much weak side picks.
Yeah, just looking over what happened yesterday over on the B side and on the other stream and what games we had, Resolve pretty easily dispatched Bulldog, and Bulldog got themselves a 2 over the walls. So actually, it was fairly similar to what we saw from London Esports yesterday, where they dropped their game to the top seed from their group, but then pretty much clean swept everyone else. So I actually feel like maybe the power balance we've got going on is going to be somewhat similar from Group A to Group B. It's going to be really exciting to see how these two teams match up. Because remember, Viperio did get a pretty solid win over London Esports, and it was maybe down a little bit to London kind of throwing that game out the window for themselves a little bit. I think that's fair to say, but even so, Viperio did get a win over one of the favorites here, so they're not a team that can be scoffed at. And for this best of three, because they were the first seed, they got to pick side selection for the first and third game. They've chosen red side for this game, so red side is the play around for Viperio. Do you think there's a reason for that, or is what's the thought process behind picking red side right now?
So I think potentially red side's always been the side that you want to go if you want to go a strong counter pick. This sets up Zuki if they want to play around him. Also on top of that, there is typically 2 bans you need to throw at Viperio. London didn't do this. They didn't ban Lucian, they didn't ban Bard. They got picked up by the side of Viperio and they crushed that game. These are signature champs for the bot lane. And by going red side, if you force the enemy team to ban those, it leaves a lot of power picks open and available. So it sort of guarantees that you can get a strong first rotation, because there's a lot of picks at the moment. We've seen the Syndra, the Set, the Trundle, the Varus, Thresh, all these champions really powerful in the current meta, often banned in the first rotation. And if you're not able to ban all of those, on blue side, you can only pick one of them. Whereas on the red side, Viperio could well get 2 strong power picks in the first rotation. So gives them a lot of flexibility in that regard. Also means you're playing a more responsive game. Enemy team picks something, you respond to it. And I think it's just favorable, especially coming into the first game of a series, to basically scope out, okay, what are Bulldog going to do unprovoked? What's their first ban planned against us? And so on, leading into the series. I will say, though, Bulldog's match against Resolve, as much as Resolve did manage to get the 1-0, Bulldog actually started with an early advantage. We saw, I believe it was a Rek'Sai coming out from Jenxes and Thomas Go on the Yasuo, and they actually had a lot of early pressure. It was looking favorable, but it was just in the later stages, they were starting to take some fights without the greatest setup, and it did start to backfire and allowed Resolve to get back into the game. But I expect them this match, this series, to be close and for them to be a formidable opponent.
Well, we are loading through into the champ select here. Bard is going to be the first ban away, taking that away from Penta. I have to see what is going to be the bans in response from Viperio. They take away the Aphelios, something we really didn't see much of yesterday over on the A stream. It did get picked up, but not really to like the most strong avail. It didn't really kind of give too much over. Now, the Varus is a pretty standard ban, followed up by the Lucian as well. So a lot of bot lane bans going out so far. Pretty much everything just focused towards that bot side. Finally taking away the Elise as the final ban for the side of Bulldog.
So this is what I was talking about. The Lucian and the Bard forced bans against Viperio. And then after that, there's so many power picks left open, and both teams have kind of opted away from them. Varus is the only thing that I would say is like S+ tier that's been banned here. Aphelios is strong, but it's not typically always a first rotation ban. It's often overlooked, in fact. So there's still a lot of powerful champions open and available, and Bulldog are only going to be able to pick one of those. So they get rid of the Graves. They have options here. They have the Set. They have the Syndra. They're going to take the Syndra, but that still leaves a lot of champions open on this rotation, Ornn definitely being one of them. And it's a quick rotation just to sort of set Talia coming as well. Yeah, very fast rotation here for the side of Viperio. They clearly planned this one out and they expected something along these lines.
You could pick the Thresh here for your Bulldog. Pick like a jungler and a Thresh, and then you don't reveal whether or not that Syndra's going bot lane or in the mid. And Thresh pairs up really well with Syndra because it just gives that the tools to escape from these kind of dangerous situations. So we'll see what the game plan really is here. Looks like they're hovering over the Trundle, so they are going to lock that in for the side of Bulldog. And now the Set is the next lock in. Again, flexible pick. It can go in the top. It can go in the bot. They've really not revealed their hands so far with these picks and bans.
Yeah, I think the weird one to me is the Talia. I'm not sure that is, to me, a standout pick that you'd want to take on that rotation, especially when you've already taken the Ornn. Denying the Trundle can be huge because obviously Trundle's always going to get huge amount of value in this game just by ulting the Ornn. But either way, they've opted to go that route. And now looking in the Braum, again, this is a bit of an interesting one to me because I think Braum is in isolation an okay champion, but often it's what you're going up against that's going to be the problem. Blinding Braum has some problems, and I understand that potentially they're picking this because they want to deny it from blocking the Ornn, but you could have just banned it on this rotation, in all honesty.
We're seeing it continue to kind of whittle down on this bot lane here with the Senna and the Callista banned away. Lots and lots of attention has been thrown down to this bot side here, and we'll see whether or not Bulldog are running this Syndra bot lane soon. What's going to be the final ban here for the side of Viperio, though? So they're taking their time out. They had a pretty quick early rotation on the picks and bans, but now they're slowing down a little bit. They're kind of thinking everything through.
Ezreal's still the standout AD carry that's left open and available here, so it'll be interesting to see if it's banned here by Bulldog, if they leave it open.
If they ban Ezreal, that's 8 bot lane bans so far.
Yeah, quite a lot.
Most of the marksmen from the game removed at this point, including the fact that Graves jungle's banned. They're banning the Xayah, so Ezreal is up still.
Yeah, Ezreal's available. Obviously, if they do put the Syndra bot lane, Ezreal can't really match priority up against the Syndra, so there will be that weak element. Maybe they factored that in. But we'll have to see if that is their plan. Overall, considering that Bulldog had to throw the Lucian and Bard ban out, those are forced bans. You wouldn't ban against anyone else. They've still come out this first rotation really well. The first 3 picks are really strong in the current meta. I've actually seen a Kog'Maw come out. They were toying with the Ezreal, but they opted in another direction. Now, typically you tend to see the likes of a Lulu paired up with a Kog'Maw, but the Braum passive still syncs really well with the champion. Question is going to be what will be taken to challenge that, because it's going to scale incredibly well. Although I will say right now, Viperio is very magic damage heavy. They need an AD threat, I feel, if they really want to cut through a Trundle who's ulted the enemies.
Looks like it might just be that Jinx in the bot lane to go up versus the Kog'Maw. Match scaling with a bit of scaling yourself. And I'll be finding out what is going where. Looking to kind of lock in either a support or a top laner here. Remember, that set is flexible. But for the moment, it looks like they may be thinking about the hyper carry Jinx as they lock the Lulu in for Penta.
I really like the Lulu here. I feel like enemy has gone for the Braum blind. You're not going to get pressured too hard by this Braum. Even if he lands a Winter's Bite, you can normally disengage. You can polymorph the Kog'Maw if he tries to walk up on you. And critically, Lulu with Jinx just means that you're going to outscale the Kog'Maw. You have that advantage. Looks like they're deliberating on the TF4 Sykes. Again, it's going to be pretty magic damage heavy, but Kog'Maw can go Blade to mitigate that to an extent. But right now, their mid jungle obviously offers a lot of strength towards the bot lane, and I feel like Viperio have gone, okay, we have a Kog'Maw, we want to facilitate him. They've grabbed 2 global ults, they've got a weak side top laner. This is very much about setting up the Kog'Maw. My concern is that Bulldog, they have more lanes to play around. Top is gankable, mid is gankable, and they have a better scaling bot lane in the Jinx Lulu.
Yeah, they have a really, really solid team comp put together here for the side of Viperio. For the side of Bulldog. Viperio, though, they still, like you said, have those tools. When you can get the TF jumping in with the Talia, just currently blocking off the Jinx and Lulu, you can find those kills. And we'll have to see where they look to play around here going into this. So let's take a bit of a deeper dive into this kind of jungle matchup, because we're seeing the Trundle in the jungle. It's been a little while since we've seen that. Typically, people were picking Trundle as a counter pick into Sejuani. Is there a reason that we're seeing the Trundle getting kind of blind picked at this point, or was it maybe just a denial they just really wanted to put on Johnny?
Trundle's just really strong at the moment. Has a lot of damage if he gets up in your face. The ultimate has a ton of value. The pillar as well. The champion just all round is S tier at the moment, and can challenge a lot of junglers. Even the ones that you would think typically he might struggle with, if you can get up in their face, he can do a lot of work. And especially against the mobile champs, the pillar is just such a godsend. I think this champion just is staple strong. As opposed to Talia matchup, a good pillar can really stop it from being able to do much, but it's kind of difficult to run up to a Talia. She just has so much damage you can throw into your face, especially in the early stages. Later on, though, having a Trundle is an absolute asset. He's going to be so tanky. He's going to reduce the tankiness of the Ornn. And the thing is, critically here, is you only need a 1 kill onto the enemy team before Jinx starts getting resets, and then you can start chaining those kills together. And at the moment, it just feels like it's going to be difficult for anyone to stand up to her. I think if we get to that sort of 4-5 item point, I think Bulldog just automatically win as long as they don't misplay.
I'm going to take you back, Orcs, to 2019, to the spring split. Bulldog were in the original form of the UKLC. They're the only team out of our 4 teams left who are currently have at least been in the UKLC. So for them, this is a real pride piece. This is them trying to return to kind of where it all started and get their kind of feet back in to the UK league scene. So for them, this is very much a game, but they need to win this series. They need to win. They want to get back to the UKLC. Viperio, they've been around for a little while, but they've not been on kind of any of the main leagues. So this is their chance to kind of be the rookies, be the new people. And there's a lot of new teams and new names in, sorry. Yeah, it's Bulldog. I'm having a complete brain fart. No, it's Resolve. What am I doing? Dan, am I being stupid? Or am I...
Are you okay?
Yeah, I've had a brain fart. I was like, I read my... no, it is Bulldog. Sorry.
Bulldog it's Bulldog against Viperio.
Yes. Do you know why? It's because my Google document is laid out really awkwardly.
Yeah,
and I read that completely wrong.
Play in the Google document.
There we go. Hey, man, I'll put a screenshot up of that, and then everyone will tell me. Actually, I feel like this is such an idiot.
I feel like this is a user issue.
This is a hit brain issue.
Yeah. Anyway,
would it be a UKLC show if I don't get something wrong at some point?
No, whose name are you gonna get wrong? Can you go through? Can you get them all right now? Can you go through them?
We got Kara, Genaxis. How do I say that? Jenksas. That's an easy way to do it. I'm fairly certain I can do mid. Thomas. Hi, I'm Jacob. Is that Girish or Girish?
Girish.
It's
just like you add extra letters. It's like
my brain. I mean, all of Viperio is pretty easy. You got Zuki, Johnny Recco, Sykes' Yikes. That was a good name, by the way. It could disappeared off my screen, so I'll have to give you the rest in a second.
You can't remember. You have them written down.
I'm so bad. Like, if it's not directly in front of me, I just can't remember.
If it's not in front of you, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Yeah. So looking at this game, I feel like the advantage on this side of Bulldog is to have a lot more versatility. There's a lot more lanes they can play around. There's a lot more avenues that they can look to attack and then translate that pressure elsewhere. Also loading in, Jacob and Thomas Go both have cleanse, so that mitigates the CC coming out from the Twisted Fate as well as the CC from the Braum. And I think ultimately, for me, it's very telegraphed that we're going to see a team looking towards bot lane. If Cogmore falls behind, he's their only AD damage threat, and even then he's hybrid. And on top of that, you kind of need him as your late game insurance. TF is a strong champion in the later stages, but he's very easy to itemize against here. Oh, they're looking for him.
Yeah, they could actually find something here. Jacob kind of run into the wind. That Winter's Bite could really, really sink some extra damage in. Not going to commit to it, though. So I'm just going to head back towards their blue side.
Always good to look for an alien invade, especially the champs on their side are really good at it. Braum, TF, Cogmontier, all really strong. So if they can find an avenue to attack, then sure, but able to block it off just by spotting them out, which is good. Could have been a really big disadvantage if Jacob was forced to burn cleanse and potentially die. It allows that avenue to sort of attack. I think the big vulnerability in the bot lane, though, is potentially going to be Girish on this Lulu. It's going to be squishy, doesn't have the cleanse available. If the TF does show up, or a good Winter's Bite lands, and then Johnny Recco's there, potentially could go down very easily. So something to watch out for. Johnny Recco's going to start up on the red. Likely path down towards bot side. And again, I feel like that is very much going to be the lane I'm looking towards. He may put pressure towards the mid lane just to sort of free up Sykes and give him some pressure. Typically, the Syndra will achieve priority if she is burning through her mana. But if you can give the TF an advantage, he should be able to challenge that.
Well, there's no real early kind of game shenanigans going down. Everybody just took to lane. It was an attempted invade, but they didn't overcommit for anything there. Like I said, top side should just be a losing side here, but if you are Viperio, you're probably quite okay with that. You want to play around your bot lane more than anything. Kara does get a bit of damage off onto Zuki.
I feel like it's interesting to me because we have seen Kara play a lot more weak side champions that aren't applying much pressure. He's not completely in that sense. Like we had Vega on August Randoms, who was playing, Maokai Straka almost exclusively. Kara will play other things, but typically he was playing a lot more of those tanks. And Sykes actually been caught out here.
Yeah, pros out the gold card, but the slow from the pillar was really, really hard for him to work around. He's had to use the heal already, maybe looking for that scan of the week, but Thomas doesn't quite have it. Johnny, though, over the wall with the seismic shove, now flashing forward, looking for the damage, looking for the opening. First blood to Sykes.
Just a massive overchase there, and Penta's roaming up. They might be able to find something. But
that gold card, they've got that flash, but they're not going to use it.
Yeah, cleanse from Syndra are going to be enough, but Jengsax just overcommitting in that situation for the TF. The stun had already come down, the pillar had already been used, and yet he was still having a wide distance away from you. I honestly think that was just a bit overzealous, and you end up getting punished. You just give him double buffs to the TF as well. If you look at Thomas Go's mana, it is pretty low, and now TF can just spam abilities and consistently look to shove in the lane. And bear in mind, Sykes didn't even flash in that turn of play.
So they might be looking for the play here. Sykes got that double bust, gets the gold card. Johnny comes through, finds the seismic shove and the unraveled earth. Sykes has to run away. He does get taken down, but they just trade out those buffs back to the junglers. And now it looks like Johnny's the one in trouble, but he's got a Kog'Maw on his back. He's got the block from the Braum. They've got the damage, and it works. Kaz comes in to save the day in a 2-for-1.
Just a good play coming out there from Viperio. Not only do they go for the gank mid, yes, unfortunately, Sykes does end up going down, but the roam up from the bot lane, Kaz and Penta are always there when they're needed, and mostly just dictated by Penta, being the one to roam up, being the one who is there in the first situation, and also following up here. Really solid play coming out there to facilitate their mid jungle, and this is important because once this mid jungle gets ahead, they're going to be able to play towards bot lane. And something else that I'm liking to see is I talked about how this team was very magic damage heavy. It is going to be this ADTF, so it's going to provide more of an attack damage threat. So it's not like Trundle can just buy Adaptive Helm and feel invincible. He is going to have to itemize some armor for himself.
And Kaz now got that kill, even roamed over, still up in CS in the lane as well. So Kaz in a very, very comfortable position on this Kog'Maw. See the dragon spawning up soon, but junglers are hanging around that top side for the moment. Just going to clear out that camps and make sure they get control of there, and then they can move over, maybe look to place some wards around this bot side. You can see already some wards have been placed down by Penta towards the jungle on the red side at the dragon area. Johnny looking for something top lane though. Instead, maybe seeing if he can find some damage. Misses out on the threaded volley and a massive haymaker. Do some serious damage to Zuki. Actually, now with jungle coming up as well, they might just try to turn this one around. Max is doing a lot of damage to that Ornn, but everybody is low.
I mean, that's the problem, is the Trundle just still feels so squishy right now. He runs forward and Johnny Rekka just chunks him. But you feel like Johnny Rekka's been able to find the edge in this jungle matchup. This may well start to cause issues throughout this game.
So he's going to take a little bit of damage here. Isn't the Electrocute Syndra, so that kind of combo is not going to sink quite as much. It's more the Meteor, the poke. But Cloud Dragon's up, so not the most contested dragon. So both teams don't really feel like there's too much priority on heading over to get that dragon, but it can give you that scaling advantage, that early dragon soul.
Now, we've got the point where Sykes has hit level 6 on this Twisted Fate, so this is where things become really threatening. Whenever you see him missing from mid lane, you have to be cautious. Right now, bot lane is pushed in, so there isn't too much threat. Jacob and Gary is pretty safe close to that tower. He could put some pressure down towards top lane, but you know this team is going to be consistently looking to try and set up this Kog'Maw to be strong. So far, there haven't been too many disparities in terms of CS, but we do see in the top lane, Kara really far ahead of Zuki in this set Ornn matchup. And obviously Ornn always going to have some value, but still a little bit rough to see. Right now, looking for an invade on this red buff.
Yeah, Pillar gets used quite early with no one really to back him up. Johnny's quite okay to do this. Penta and Kaz roaming over. They're looking for Jacob. The traps do get placed down, and in comes Syndra. Thomas looking for Johnny. Johnny may be biting off a little bit more than he can chew here, as they are just going to be able to find this kill. The red buff slows enough.
Just
Johnny a little bit scattered there.
Yeah, really overzealous there. It felt like he wanted to pair up with the bot lane, but Kaz and Penta got zoned away, and then it was the quick roam coming down from Thomas Go. Sykes didn't want to ult into a situation where they could have ended up 1v4, so just literally going down a little bit sloppily. Considering there was such a good early game, you don't really want that to be happening. So that put Jenks in a pretty comfortable position. He's got 2 kills in his pocket. He's caught up with his CS discrepancy that was there earlier. Now he's going to hand off that blue over to the Syndra. And that's the critical thing, is if the Syndra has blue buff, she is pretty good at shoving the wave in, maintaining priority. And if Syndra has priority, it's very difficult for TF to move, because he's going to be under tower. If he does move, he's going to lose plate, he's going to lose a lot of CS. So you want to try and keep that blue buff available for the Syndra if possible.
Kaz still not been to base. Looking to try and just get as much gold in his pocket as possible. Probably that Blade of the Ruin King will be the first build here for the Kog'Maw. It's quite an expensive item. And you were talking about this yesterday, Blade of the Ruin King. The components aren't great, but on an AD carry, at least they can use the components a bit better than if it's like a top laner, because you expect Kara to be also building the Blade of the Ruin King in this Ornn matchup. And it's a very different setting where the attack speed and the lifesteal's nice, but it's not as effective as once the Blade of the Ruin King's fully finished. But for Kaz, he actually can still use those components fairly effectively. Yeah, let's say he just goes and gets himself the Berserker's Grease and the Vamp Scepter and an extra sword.
The lifesteal's still pretty good in the AD carry. Obviously, you're going to take more damage per auto from Jacob for the most part, but you just trade with your W up, you then back away and heal up. It's not too bad. But the spike isn't as big when Kog'Maw gets the Blade of the Ruin King. But they've now rotated top. They're looking.
Good pillar gets used. Sykes actually dodges away on the scatter of the Weed. Genesis running for his life. Sykes looking for the gold card, is able to find it. The blast cone hasn't been popped yet. Meanwhile, in the top lane, they're going for another fight. The Call of the Forge God's being used onto Kira, but a massive face breaker will stop anything from happening. They get the orbs off, and Johnny's a little bit low. Kara running low as well. But it does look like for now, Viperio have just sent them packing. They've got the Destiny. They've got the gold card. Sykes slides in and secures the kill top lane.
So this looks like a good play overall for Viperio. They get the kill. They rotated their team topside. They're going to get the Herald. But the counterpoint is Jinx has just got a ton of plating on the bot side of the map. Right now, already taken 2, working on more. They're also trading the Dragon. This might end up being an unfavorable play for Viperio in the long run, especially since this is all solo gold for the Jinx.
A lot of dosh in her pocket. 3 plates bot lane. You can see the gold differences on your screen right now. 400 up for Jacob. That 1 kill Kaz has really did help him kind of keep himself somewhat relevant versus Jacob. And now it's how they use this Rift Tail to get more plates. Are they just going to invest as much gold into Kaz as possible? Feels like that should be their answer out here, but quite a lot of people hanging around, although Nice is staying for a ward. He's going to get knocked up, and now Kaz just gets himself a free shutdown. That gold difference we're talking about just disappeared.
Yeah, just really greedy there from Jinxus. You made a good play. You got the dragon. You seen an engage from the top lane.
Yeah, Sykes has the gold card onto Kira. Does take a lot of damage, but he's able to put the distance out and stay away.
I think having the ultimate there may have made a difference if Kira wanted to use it, but not quite up yet. But as I was saying, it was a good play coming out from Jinxus. They kept the Jinx in the bot lane. They had priority. They shoved the tower in. They've traded evenly because the Herald is worth 2 plates for the most part. Obviously, you can get more value. But that's what you're going to average with it. And they got an extra 2 plates on the Syndra. And then on top of that, they got Dragon. They stole the blue. It was all looking pretty solid. And then he just overstays for that ward. Ends up going down. And critically, the kill went over to the Kog'Maw with the shutdown. So completely backfired that play. And has given him a blue buff as well, if it couldn't get any worse. So I just feel like that's been the story for Jinxus this game. It's like he does something good and then he just does something really atrocious. Bit of a back and forth.
I think the one kind of caveat they can at least run for the moment is the fact that that gold hasn't been spent by Kaz, where I believe Jacob did go and reset, so has at least got the kind of item advantage for the moment. But once that spend comes in for Kaz, it kind of alleviates it a little bit.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is though, since you're coming in with a pillar.
Has exhaust, has flash. He's able to dodge away on everything. And now Johnny stepping forward, uses the Weaver's Wall to catch everybody off. The traps are down. The flash into the Freeman Glacial Fissure. Kaz is on the back line, firing into the Trundle, but he's just so tanky. Pence has to go golden for the moment as they find themselves the rocket. And in comes Sykes onto that back line. The Unleashed Power is enough to find a shutdown in response as well. Sykes goes yikes, and he runs back to mid lane. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Showstopper gets used by Kira. He's looking for Zuki. Zuki throws down the Call of the Forge God, tries to get himself the knockup, tries to find that turnaround, but the health is just too low. More CC's coming in. Sykes is going to slide in, gets himself the gold card, and gets himself the kill. There is something in response here.
Just fights across the map in this situation. Overall, though, Bulldog definitely coming out way better in that scenario. The bot lane fight was the big one, and you see TF ult top lane. A lot of you might be wondering why he didn't go bot lane. The Destiny wasn't available yet. And that is the critical mistake here, is they didn't have the TF ultimate. They go for that big engage, but Thomas Go was the one who showed up. The Syndra was there, the Twisted Fate wasn't, and that is what turned the play completely in Bulldog's favor. And with that, they managed to pick up that bot lane tower, Sykes does get a consolation kill, but it's massively in favor of our blue side team. They're now about 2,000 gold up in the lead. You can see the differences across the board. 500 between the 80 carries. Considering we had those 2 kills on a Kaz, that is pretty significant. And other than the mid lane, we're seeing a lead on the side of Bulldog just across the board.
You just saw the power of the Subjugate there, along with the wild growth. At that point in time, the Cogmore just doesn't have the damage. They are going to be able to pick up some plates just before they fall off and give that gold over to Sykes and Johnny. Plates will be falling off shortly, so not going to be able to get too much more, but Jacob now gone back to base. I believe that's the Infinity Edge finish. Thank you very much. It is. While Kaz is still sitting on the components of that Blade, the Ruin King. Probably fairly close at this point because he had 500 gold in his pocket earlier. So should be closing in on that Blade, but...
And that's a big spike for the Cogmore. When he gets Blade of the Ruin King versus just the Infinity Edge on its own, not particularly strong, especially since it did get nerfed quite a while ago. So the crit damage isn't as significant. It is a sort of item where you need the extra crit to back it up before it's really relevant. Even getting that one big crit isn't going to completely dictate a fight, whereas the Blade of the Ruin King is a ton of consistent damage. So big spikes on the side of Viperio. You're seeing the Triforce as well for the Twisted Fate is a significant one. And the Blade of the Ruin King not quite picked up by Kira on the blue side. But as the game goes further and further on, it is going to get more favorable towards the side of Bulldog. And Jenxus as well, you saw now with the Cinderhulk, with the buffing for the Lulu, he is really tanky, he is really hard to cut down, and he has good options for his Subjugate. Braum is a solid one, especially after he's used his W. He gets a lot of extra free resistances, and then Ornn is the obvious choice in most situations if he's there in the fight. So this Trundle is going to become problematic. Sure, they have a Cogmore to cut through him, but if Cogmore's threatened, then he's not exactly going to be able to just free auto.
Looks like they're rotating a couple of members down. Jacob has to be a little careful from the Call of the Forge God. Has got Girish with him, though, to make sure that our wild growth is available. Ardent Sensor finished up on the Lulu as well. But it looks like this Mountain Drake is going to get started up by the side of Bulldog. It's on to Viperio to go in for the response. The traps will zone him off at the moment, and Penta takes a lot of damage. Half health on the Dragon, the Call of the Forge God, and the Destiny used. They're looking to commit here. Sykes is on that flank, but not really able to find that opening. Penta gets himself caught out, throws out the Glacial Fissure. Kaz just has to run backwards, but he is going to get caught by the Scatter of the Weak and the Unleashed Power. This is just a whitewash for Bulldog. They got the Dragon, and they get the team fight. A triple kill onto Jacob.
Just a beautiful flank coming out there from Kera. They grab the Braum, dump him in the middle of the team. Instantly, they manage to shut him down because the Unbreakable timed out. And then Jacob has resets. As you said, Ardent Sense from the Lulu means he can just keep going ham. And it's an easy pickings in that team fight. Kera going for the 1v1 here.
Yeah, Sykes actually put the red card up instead of the yellow card, so wasn't able to fully commit there. He's once again got a red card into Kera for the slow, but this means Sykes has to flash away. Thinking about going back in there, decides the better of it and steps away. But with that tower going down in the mid lane and the Rift Herald getting picked up, feels to me like Bulldog have got their grips on this game.
Absolutely. And as I said, it's only going to get worse for the side of Viperio. You're not going to find the situation getting better for you in the later stage of the game because Cogmore hits these big spikes on the Blade of the Ruin King, on the Ginsus, and then from then on, he just isn't as relevant as a Jinx who is being buffed by a Lulu. Jinx Lulu will scale incredibly well. It's not like Cogmore's going to be bad. It's just mid-game is really where he's going to be unstoppable. And if you're behind by 4,000 gold already at this point, it is going to feel rough. Even just between the 80 carries you can see in front of you, 1,700 gold difference just between those two.
Looks like it's time just to slow down, get some more gold into the pockets of the members of Viperio. Bulldog, though, they've got this Rift Herald. They've got these 2 Drakes. We're on an Infernal Soul for them as well. They really want to push their advantage, get that soul as quick as possible. Jacob does miss a few CS underneath his tower there. That was a little hard to watch.
Yeah, unlucky. Just waiting for his team to beat us before he wants to push up. They're looking towards his top lane tower right now. They picked up the mid one. They picked up the bot. Just that last outer tower, really the one that they're trying to deal with. They do have to be a little bit cautious, though. Sykes does have the Destiny available. But to be honest, for the side of Viperio, I don't think you want to go for this fight. The Jinx is just so strong. With the Lulu paired up, it's like you can't burst through it and still has Cleanse available. And that's the critical thing. That's why I really like the Summoner choice in this game. The thing that would typically shut down Jacob would be CC in this match, but that isn't even really an option. Even if they manage to get a yellow card onto her or the Brawn passive stacked up, Cleanse is just going to come out. You're going to be able to continue doing damage. And with already having picked up the Infinity Edge and now the Runans, this Jinx is getting to become a real big issue. Typically, if a Kog'Maw is at 2 items and a Jinx is at 2 items, the Kog'Maw will come out stronger. But the problem is, Jake's for 2 items, Kaz isn't even close. He's got 2 daggers in his inventory, and as well, he doesn't have the Lulu buffing him. The Lulu as well is going to offer, an extra half item or whole items worth of value.
And look at the attention. Everybody, like Kira, roaming up towards this top lane. They want to just fully commit for the tower. And it feels to me like Viperio are just going to have to concede it. They don't want to fight so many members, especially with that massive item deficit between the 2 AD carries. It's the last tier 1 turret will fall. Kaz is going to try and get himself the red buff. Just needs to be a little careful. Doesn't want to get caught out by multiple members. I believe he was seen on a ward.
Tower taken though, so Bulldog done what they needed. Sykes trying to get some vision deep on the red side jungle of Bulldog. And the game's expected to slow down a little bit here, just because those outer towers being down makes it quite tricky to sort of push anything else. But Dragon is spawning in a minute. This would put Bulldog on soul point if they can get it. They're still 4,000 up in gold, still feeling confident to fight, so this could be a critical moment. And the question is going to be, will Viperio say, right, we can't challenge this, we'll have to just wait for the soul, or are they going to opt into a fight here and potentially end up giving over Baron if they lose? If it's another fight like the last one, where they get a 4-0, they would lose Baron on the back of that.
It really looks like they're trying to just get the last spends in here. Everybody on the side of Bulldog have already been to base, spent their gold. An extra crit cloak picked up for Jacob, so he's now rocking that 70% crit at this point. Yeah, but Kaz is going to go back, get himself close to the Hurricane, but hasn't finished it up. So still down in items to Jacob, still in a rough situation here. Dragon spawning up in 23 seconds.
Interesting to see the Hurricane coming out. Typically, we see the Ginsu's more from the Kog'Maw. If you have multiple targets to hit, sure, but I'm not sure how relevant that's going to be. I mean, you do have the Set and the Trundle.
My guess is the gold price of the 2 items, and Kaz just wants to be relevant as soon as possible. Or, like, at least match items as soon as possible. But the Rift Herald's been summoned, and now Kaz has to be very, very careful. They're going to try and cancel out this Rift Herald, but that may just lose them. The Dragon is... Sykes has to step away from the bush. Yeah, the Dragon is just going to get given up.
They're not going to opt to contest it, which I think is the right decision, but it's a rough one because this now puts them 1 away from the Infernal Soul. Infernal Soul is really powerful with this team composition. Trundle is going to get more damage from when he's already extremely tanky. Syndra is going to be at the point where she's even more threatening with just a 1-shot from pressing the ultimate. And Jinx doesn't need more damage. She's already going to be doing a ton, so... It's just making a bad situation worse if they can get their hands on that Infernal Soul. For now, though, they're moving the vision over towards the top side. They're happy they picked up the 3rd Dragon, but there's no pressure on Bulldog right now. There's no, oh, we need to finish the game quickly because our Renekton's going to fall off, or at least going to fall off. This is a situation where everyone scales pretty well into later stages, and I would say they comfortably outscale the enemy team. There are big spikes coming in for the side of Viperio, but I feel like with this goal deficit, it's not going to be significant. And the later we get in the game, it's the worse it's going to get. The Ornn items is something to be factored in, but even then, the deficit is just so big. And you see it, I mean, it's not too major in individual roles other than the AD carry role. It's almost 2,000 there. And unfortunately, that's something we talked about where the Kog'Maw really needs to be significant for this team, for Viperio, into the later stages.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we've already seen Zuki upgrade his Forge Fire Cape. Kaz going to go to base. This should be the Herald. Sorry, not the Herald, the Runan's Hurricane. But this reset actually is really bad from them. Destiny was pretty clutch there by Sykes to spot everybody out on the Baron. So they now know that was going on.
He's actually using that to rotate up mid so he can cover the wave as Kaz resets. Does have the Hurricane now. This item is actually really effective in the Baron pit because obviously if everyone's grouped up, you can get a lot of value out of it. But they did have to use the Destiny. I mean, again, he used it. I think he used it to go mid. Whether he used it for that or the Baron Vision, it had the same result. They're able to push them away from starting it. But again, pressure isn't on Bulldog. They can just wait for the dragon to spawn if they really want to.
Although, like you're saying, it's a good item. It's a good pickup now for fighting in the pit and these kind of big team fights for Kaz. But Kaz now has the Hurricane, and Jacob is on his second Zeal and a dagger. I'm assuming that will either be a rapid fire cannon or a Phantom Dancer finished up for him.
I would say rapid fire. I think you have enough protection from the Lulu that you don't need a Phantom Dancer. And the extra range on that auto attack can really go a long way for getting the resets.
Teleport was used by Sykes into the mid lane. Not sure he needed to do that, but gets him onto the map, I guess. And Kaz is just going to continue to try and farm as much as possible. Curious to see whether or not he wants to go for the Gwynsies next on the Cogmore.
I think maybe the reason they're going towards the Runans is the more AD damage. I feel like it wasn't as necessary with TF going AD. Like, if this had been a game where it was AP TF, I'd understand going more with the crit build, because you need that AD damage. But in this situation, you do have an AD TF. I don't think it was as necessary. By the way, I expect to potentially see an Infinity Edge come out as the next item. To sort of bank on the fact that you do have that crit chance going for you already. It's actually going to be the Phantom Dancer coming out from the Jinx, so it won't have that extended range on the auto. But
just extra unkillable now.
Yeah, a lot harder to take down.
Doesn't want to give that big shutdown over. Girish actually has to be very careful here. Gold cards on Sykes, but without having that rapid fire cannon finished up, Sykes isn't going to be able to get that long range gold card off yet.
Yeah, I could have seen the Destiny come in there, in all honesty. At least it would have given the information, okay, let's not go for this play, because I think maybe they could have actually blown up Girish, or at least forced the flash. But ultimately, they don't end up burning it. He's going to pull back, and Girish gets away from a situation that was a little bit precarious. For now, though, we're a minute away from the Infernal Dragon and the Soul. That is where the fight is going to have to be forced, because realistically, they can't just give this one over for free. It'd be a pretty dangerous decision to do so. And you can see them already starting to move down towards the boss side of the map. They know they need to set up for this one. They can't just give it as a freebie. But unfortunately, unlike the Baron takes a lot longer to do. It's going to put a debuff on everyone. It's going to deal a lot of damage. The Dragon isn't going to do that. It's a pretty easy take. And with the Infernal Soul map, you can see the Dragon Pit, is quite open. So it's not even like they're going to be corralled in so hard. With the terrain being removed, it's a pretty easy take for Bulldog if they can get in, which is why Viperio is putting so much effort into sort of establishing control over the area.
Kaz has to be a little careful. Kara, sweating in the wings. Looking to get control with a Syndra. It's so hard to get these Scuttle Crabs. It's hard to get these buffs, as that is going to be the crab control over to the side of Bulldog, denying Viperio complete clear of the vision around this pit. Already, they've placed down the Scryer's Orb. Kaz and Penta waiting in the wings. They're going to use the Weaver's Wall to try and block off part of the team. The Call of the Forge God's been thrown down. Sykes has actually been caught out by Kira on the top end there. But watch Kaz, it's all on him. But Jacob popping people left, right, and center. Look at the AoE damage. The Jinx is popping off right now. Not going to land that Zap or the Mega Inferno Bomb, though, for the moment. Kaz going to get himself jumped onto. Has to use that exhaust already, but in comes the double kill for the Syndra. And the Jinx is excited. They're chasing down more. They're looking for these kills. It is another whitewash in favor of Bulldog. Only one lives, and this will be so.
Just a huge disparity between those two teams in this fight. The damage coming out from Jacob, the confidence to step up there, and as you said, the AoE was just absolutely crushing. They'll get the Dragon Soul. They're going to go straight for Baron after this. And it was just a really rough fight. You could see the idea coming out from Sykes. He wanted to eliminate the flank threat from Kira, so he just Destiny down onto him. But the end result was he wasn't able to kill Kara. The team was a 4v4, and then they just had no answer for this Jinx. With Cleanse, with the Lulu backing it up, no one was willing to step up on Jacob. And it feels like after that, after them getting the Dragon Soul and now the Baron, the game feels very over.
The Cleanse wasn't even used. He just completely ran through them there.
And across the board, everyone's got about 1,000 plus gold on the side of Bulldog that they're just going to spend right now, and it's going to make it so much harder to try and win. Gold difference 7,000. The composition outscales. You have this massive Jinx who's going to be great for sieging. It just already feels very sort of rough right now. You have to kill this Jinx if you're going to win a team fight. You have to focus everything onto Jacob. He is now flashless, so if you can get a good combo from the Ornn, potentially there's an opportunity. But it's not a good sort of win condition with how strong Jacob is right now.
Jacob's also been back, spent some gold as well, so building on the next item. I'm curious to see what Jacob decides to go for, if he wants to go for something like a Last Whisper, just to be able to cut through any kind of front line. That gold card will connect into a little bit of damage, but he just turns it straight back around. Got an extra BF sword, so it's probably a Bloodthirster build next coming in. It looks like Kaz is actually now... He was thinking about going for the Guinzoos, but he actually switched and bought a BF sword himself.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you go on the Runehounds, the Infinity Edge is the right call, but it's just going to take so long to get. Elixir of Wrath actually picked up by Jacob, so has that extra bonus AD from that and the BF sword. They are now looking for the engage.
Yeah, Weaver's Wall's going to try and cut a couple of members off. They've actually got Jacob isolated. They're using everything onto him. Jacob is still going. They can't muzzle the dog. Jacob gets shot down, but it is so much work before dying. What a team fight for the side of Bulldog. A triple kill for the Lulu. The base will now fall.
And the play was absolutely right there. They pincered Jacob beautifully. It was completely correct, but the goal difference was way too big. The Jinx was way too strong. And the fact that Jacob took so long to go down, did so much damage, that Elixir of Wrath is coming in clutch for the healing. And they're just going to be able to end this game and swiftly go to a 1-0 in the series.
A 1-0 up for Bulldog. They are here to play. 7-1-8 on Jacob on that Jinx. Just played fantastic there. And like you were saying, every time they tried to kill him, there was just so much the Lulu did to make sure they wouldn't die. It was massive.
Well, I think the clutch buy as well. Extra Elixir of Wrath, so all that damage he was doing at the end was healing. But the play was perfect. The Ornn ult knocks him up. The wall splits him from everyone else in the team. That was textbook for what you needed to do. But they just didn't have the tools. They didn't have the damage follow-up. The cleanse was there to reduce the CC and remove the gold card. And then it's just the amount of time that Jinx survived. If you'd made that play and the goal difference wasn't 8,000, that might have worked. It probably would have been such a great play and we would have hyped it up. The goal difference, though, was a significant thing. The setup from the Lulu, and it just meant it wasn't enough. By that point, Bulldog had already won the game. That was probably best case scenario for Viperio, and they still ended up losing.
What was really great about that game was just like, they saw the Kog'Maw, they went, cool, we'll just match your scaling with better scaling because we'll put a support that allows Jinx to just completely pop off. It was such a solid game across the board there. Kerry kind of, even though he had the winning side, he kind of played a more chill game that game. But you have to also give it to Sykes. Sykes actually had a pretty good start to the game. It was just as it went on later and later, it just slipped away from him, and Jacob just got too strong as that game just went on and on. So it's just a really, really good showing there for the side of Bulldog, but it is still a best of 3. There is still more to go. So we'll have to see what the changes are going to be going into this.
Yeah, and I think the big thing for me was the blind Braum. If you really don't want them to take Braum so that your own gets maximum value, ban it. I don't think you need to pick it there. The blind Braum into the Kog'Maw sets the enemy team up to take Jinx Lulu. And then the Lulu difference is the big thing, because once one AD carry has Lulu and the other doesn't, if you don't shut down that AD carry, they're just going to become so much more relevant in the later stages. And I think overall, Bulldog came in with a better draft. They managed to deliver on it, and it was just a great 1-0 start to the series. And now the ball is really in the court of Viperio to adapt if they want to keep their chances alive of getting the UKLC. Bear in mind, if they lose this next game, that is it. They are out, and Bulldog will be into the UKLC for the summer split. So very much backs against the wall right now.
It's all to play for Viperio, our seed 1 coming out of Group A. We're going to cut to a quick break, and when we're back with our second game of this series. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a second.